Hello everyone, Dom here, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can create unique instruments in Cubase with the samples that you already have in your hard drive. Let's get started. If you're a music producer, there's a high chance that you have a folder of samples or maybe multiple sample libraries sitting there in your hard drive collecting dust. If you don't have your own samples, Cubase already has a massive collection of samples that allow you to create sounds from scratch. And Cubase actually has all the tools you need in order to do this. So today I'm going to show you a few ways that you can take your existing samples, either your own samples or the samples that are included in Cubase in MediaBay, and turn them into unique instruments or make them playable and have them right there at your fingertips to help you with your inspiration, to help you with your music making process. So let's get started. One of the things that I do all the time is create sample collections. So let's say I want to have a collection of kick drums, a collection of snares, a collection of hi-hats. This is actually very easy to do in Cubase, and for this I use Groove Agent SE as my main instrument of choice. And let me show you what I do. Let's say in this case I want to create an instrument that has a collection of drops, of sound effects, of cinematic sounds. For this, I'm going to use one of my favorite cinematic libraries in Cubase. It's Noir. So I'm going to go to my MediaBay and I'm going to start selecting some samples from this library. So as you can see, I've rated these samples with 5 stars. So I know these are samples that I really like. So I'm going to use these samples and drop them into Groove Agent. And it's just a simple drag and drop process. So let's go for this one first and add it to this cell. Let's go for this one. Second cell. Let's keep going. And just like this, I have a very nice selection of cinematic sounds just inside Groove Agent. And the great thing is, now I can play them. And when it comes to Groove Agent, you have a lot of flexibility. For example, let's say I want the samples to only play while I'm holding the key down. I can just go to the sample page and change this from one shot to continuous. So now you will see that this sound will not play in its entirety when I lift the key. Compared to one shot, you know, I hit the key and it plays the entire sample. So it's very flexible. You can even reverse the samples. Very cool. And now I can trim those samples very easily. I can change the pitch. I can change the filters. Let's say I go for this sample, but I don't want to have the build-up. I only want to have the hit. Super simple. The only thing I need to do is set my sample start. If I want to be a little bit more detailed, I can go like this and just set it here. And now I have a nice hit instead of transition, build up sound, and then hit. So now let's go for this sample, for example, and now let's try and change the pitch envelope for this one. So I can go like this. I can even see the waveform if I want to by clicking this icon here. And now I can just set my envelope amount. Let's go all the way up. And now I can do all sorts of crazy things. You know, sky's the limit. I can go to my filters, activate a filter, and add some distortion maybe. So Groove Agent allows you to create collections of sounds really easily and manipulate them. So this is the first way. The second thing that you can do in Cubase is create your own custom drum kits. And for this, I'm going to use Groove Agent again. I'm going to have an empty instance. And in this case, I'm going to go to MediaBay again. And I'm going to use Nightcall Synthwave in this case. And I'm going to create a drum kit, an original drum kit using this library. So I'm going to click on this library and then I'm going to select kick drums first. So I have selected some of my favorite kick drums. So let's drop this kick drum in first, and I can immediately play it. And let's say I want to add another layer, and I can go here at the top of the cell. See, it becomes like a plus symbol. And now I just added a second layer. That means that by default, when I play low velocities, I'm going to trigger the first sample, and when I play higher velocities, I'm going to trigger the second sample, and I can change the velocity split point like this. Very, very simple. Now let's go for my snares. Let's add a snare. So let's filter the snares now. I like this one. Let's place it in D1. And maybe this one, I'm going to just drop it in E1. So now, let's add a clap really quickly. D sharp 1, I'm following the GM mapping. And how about some toms? I'm gonna have this one placed here. And now maybe I want to tune it. So what I'm gonna do, check this out. I'm gonna go to pitch and I'm going to select the key range, okay? So I'm gonna go like this and I'm going to have this go up to B1. So as you can see, there are a lot of options when you use Groove Agent SE. And it goes without saying that I can pan, I can change the pitch for every single cell. I can pan my toms, for example. And what I like to do, just because it looks nice, I like to take my kick drum, for example, set it to a nice color, then take my snares, select all of them using Control or Command, and just set a different color there. And my claps will be this color, and my toms will be this color. So I like to color code my drums as well, because it really helps. You know, it's very visual, it's very easy to tell what you're clicking at any given point. And don't forget, with Groove Agent, you can send each individual element of the kit to its separate bus. The way you do this is you right-click on the things that you want to send to a bus. For example, let's say I want to select my snares, then right-click and go to Assign Output and set it to a separate output. This way, you can process it with any effect that you want, dynamics, EQ, reverb, delays, sky's the limit, okay? So this is a second way that you can create your own custom drum kits using samples that you have either in MediaBay or on your hard drive. Let's move on to something else. Now let's explore a different way that you can create an instrument. I'm going to stick with Nightcall Synthwave, and in this case, I want to create a synth sound, okay? So why don't we go for an analog sound, and let's play a few samples. I think I'm gonna go for this one. This sounds really nice and warm. Maybe I can create a nice pad. So now if I want to create an instrument out of this sample, I can do this very easily by just right-clicking and selecting Create Sampler Track. So we're going to use the sampler track to create a synth sound. Now, of course, I can go ahead and play this straight away. But we can do a few things to make this even better, to make this our own. First of all, I might want to set a loop point so that the sound lasts forever when I hold the keys, because right now it's going to run out when the sample ends. So the way to do this is I can go to my loop mode here, and there are quite a few loop modes. With sounds like this, like a pad or something like this that evolves, it's a very good idea to select an alternate loop mode. And this way I can go like this, set my loop points, and now the sound is going to loop between this section while I'm holding the key. And it's a good idea to set your snap to 0 crossing on so that you avoid any clicks and pops. So now I've set my loop mode in alternate, I've set my sustain, loop start, and loop end. So basically when I'm holding the key, this section of the sample is going to play. And if you experience a little hiccup, then you can solve this by using our crossfades. Let's do this now. And of course, because this is a pad, what I would probably do would go to my amp modulation page, go to my envelope and make the release quite longer so that it doesn't cut off when I lift the key. Beautiful. Now the other thing I can do is make this sound a little bit more alive by adding some modulation to it. And this I can do by using pitch modulation, filter modulation, and amplitude modulation. Of course, if I turn on my filter, I can do all sorts of things that you would expect from a filter. So immediately the sampler track now reacts like a synthesizer. And then I can of course modulate the pitch. So let's go and add a little bit of an LFO. And let's assign it to the mod wheel as well. Beautiful. Now, this is a pad sound. What are we missing? We're missing a nice lush reverb. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a revelation patch. And there we go. And now let's listen to this. So as you can see, even from one single, one note sample, you can create a beautiful synth. So don't underestimate single shot samples that you have in your library. And speaking of creating cool instruments with samples, let's choose another sample now. I'm going to go for a vocal. I'm going to use the urban pop vocals for this one. And let's see.
You know you will reap what you sow.
This sounds good to me, so I'm going to create a sampler track out of this. I'm going to just drag it and drop it in my lower zone in this case. That's another way to create a sampler track out of a sample. And now I have lots of options. I can just play the sample straight.
You know you will reap what you sow. You know you will reap what you sow.
You know, very straightforward. Or I can slice it, for example.
You knew what, you knew what.
But sometimes what I like to do is go back to the normal mode and just set the start and ending point so that I can make this sample completely unrecognizable. So now, if I go like this, so this still sounds like a vocal chop, but I can actually process it so that I can create a playable instrument out of this. Of course, because this vocal has many different notes in it, maybe I have to find the correct note. So this to me sounds like a C, so I had to set my root key to F#3. But if you're not sure about this, just add the tuner from Cubase to your inserts and just play a C. And if it shows that it's a C, you're good to go. So now let's start processing this sample. Okay, I'm going to lower my amp volume so I can have some headroom. And I'm going to activate my filter, add a little bit of drive. Let's add a little bit of glide. And now let's turn it into a massive, reverberant pluck sound using revelation and a super long reverb tail. And you know, sometimes what I like to do is I like to go to my filter envelope, turn my envelope all the way up, turn down my cutoff, and now switch my filter type to rate, add a little bit of drive. and then add the reverb back in. So there you go, these are just a few of the ways that Cubase allows you to create your own unique sounds using the samples that you already have. So I hope you have loads of fun creating your own sounds. I'll see you on the next one. Take care and bye-bye.